Welcome back to the Telosive EV podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Not to worry, y'all. I'm back.
They said it couldn't be done.
Again.
Invite this guy.
Can we please get views again? I'm the talent, but he's the face. What the heck? What is the deal?
Mister, I don't care about anything but Rivian. It's good to see you both.
I have a story to tell. It's good to see you. First of all,
no. You're not dominating this one again.
I'm
dominating. Not letting that slide.
I don't care. I just want to say I missed this. I missed the three of us just in our little virtual room again. It feels like it's been forever, and I looked at the time, and it was literally forever. You've
got stories. I've got stories.
A life history event happened in between the last time I saw you, Drew.
So much has happened, especially with my car. But fine, let's get the reign of Randy over with.
Okay.
What?
I am God. Hear me roar. First of all, it's been one heck of a week. We are a show of EV, and we'll talk about it in Tech 2, but I have to bring this up because there is relevance to the show. I was leaving a Rivian location when I got the news on Saturday about Trump. And I was like, whoa.
Okay. Cool.
I found a way to tie it into EV. That's impressive.
Can I get nasty now? Because you guys can't edit this part.
No, we can.
We can edit it.
Dang it.
Oh, we can. This isn't live.
Dang it. All right. Well, I was at Rivian, and
why?
Because Mike dropped some tips to me pre-shooting. It's like a whole different life. It's like pre-COVID, pre-shooting, pre-9/11. Were you guys even old enough to remember 9/11? I don't know.
Yes. Move on.
All right.
Definitely.
So I got to Rivian per Mike's not request, but he at the end of EV last week he had told me that there was a show happening. So when I got off the podcast, literally right when we ended it, and I think EV was the last thing we did last week. So right when we ended it, and I got off the call with Mike, I went to Rivian's website to first put in a reservation thing.
A reservation
for what?
No, I'm sorry. Not a test drive. A test drive. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's very different.
Very different. Yes, I want to do a test drive. So I go on there to do it, and then I also go look at ticket prices for the expo that Mike had told me that was happening in Denver. Only for all of it to get sidelined because then it said that the service center here in Colorado Springs actually has test drives available over at the service center. I don't have to go to a showroom. So I was like, oh. Okay, so I go to book my appointment, and there's only one date in all of July, and I can't even fast forward to August, or just one date in the middle of the week that would have been yesterday, on the 17th. And I'm like, no, that's not going to work. So then I look at the schedule, and it says that they are open on like the weekend, just not Sundays. So I go Saturday afternoon to the store to be like, hey, I'm trying to work with you guys to book out even if it's a month out. I can't do weekdays. I have to do weekends. So I go there before they close, and these bums aren't even there. Their lights are on, but the doors are locked. Nobody's there. I hung around for a good 20 minutes. Nobody
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. Huh. So as I'm killing time, I'm like, all right, I'm leaving. As I get in my car and leave, literally the whole country changed. And I was like, oh, this feels trivial now. And I stopped trying. Up until this very moment, I forgot that I did this Rivian thing.
You're like, I'm not going to complain at the moment. There's other things going on. But
I was like, whoo, I dodged a butt. Never mind. Sponsored by Poppy, the watermelon.
That's a lot of. I like Poppy. I've just tried one recently. It was pretty good.
That
was a lot of blinking by Model Y Mike there.
Calling me by my full name here. How dare you?
Model Y Michael.
I can't. Oh, even more full.
You're in trouble, sir.
How am I in trouble? What'd I do?
I don't know.
Full
Anyway,
name
that's
being
it.
used.
My reign of Randy's done. I have nothing to hijack. That's my update. The update is I have no update, but I tried.
Okay.
All right, fair enough. Try again later. But I can warn you now, if you're if you're into Rivian, driving one will only make you more into Rivian. I don't think it will hurt.
Yes, because you're driving it.
Butts and seats.
You're right. Hang on.
I don't think you're going to drive in and not want one. There you go.
Broke out the hat.
I need the
We've
other
got
one. I'm trying to be
2
like
pieces
Mike.
of Rivian merch.
Anyways, Drew, you drove
Yes.
around with your broken car, in which I don't know if people who listen strictly to the podcast know your car's been through a very tumultuous time, and I guess yourself and your wife too. But
Yeah,
somehow you've been able to travel far distances with it. Anyways,
Drew, what the heck is going on with you, man? Straight up, like I don't know if I want you near my cars. You might break them or something. I don't know.
it's got
That's
an aura
true.
to them.
There's an aura. There's something.
A very bad aura lately because I basically had 2 tire wheel incidences within the course of about 3 weeks. One of them was definitely not my fault. One of them, I would argue, is about half my fault. Half full self-driving's fault.
Tires.
You make it. You make it.
Yeah.
Easy.
I basically had to buy. The good news is I had to buy 4 new tires, so that my car basically has a new set of tires, and the old tire had 45,000 miles on them. So it's better than popping them and destroying them when they're brand new, which I suppose could have happened if I followed everyone's advice and bought new tires at 40,000 miles or something. But there was still good tread left on those hand cooks. Rest in peace, hand cooked tires, which are now completely removed. But I very much lost a lot of respect for Tesla over how they handled the situation. Also how full self-driving performed in that particular instance. It was quite literally fitting the definition of worst choice at the worst time. And I had heard that before. I had seen them disclose that before, but it's a different thing when you're actually having to pay out of pocket for its mistake. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say I'm faultless, but I do think that everyone in the car, if you were in the car, as my parents and my sister and my wife all were, you'd be able to attest that this was not an instance of lack of paying attention. It was an instance of using the system when you shouldn't have, because of the poor lane markings and also the sunlight hitting it at the wrong time. And it's basically, I was already fairly negative on FSD. This does not help the situation. I'm even more negative now on I straight up just don't use it unless I'm on the freeway. Basically when I would have used autopilot anyway. But for city street driving, after it did that, I'm just kind of done. I'm like, I'm done trying. I'm done experimenting. I don't want to be the channel that experiments with FSD or tries to find out how it performs. It's like, okay, we've done this. People aren't impressed by it anymore. And it can still make these horrible mishaps at the wrong time. And I don't even think it's like a software problem. Like, this is just a straight up, the cameras couldn't see very well. Nor could I. I wouldn't have seen the pothole either, but I wouldn't have hit it. I would have gone straight past it. But not only that, the whole way that Tesla service handled the situation, there was no way to rearrange the queue, even though I felt like people on road trips should get priority, because you can't just get a loaner vehicle and go about your day. Whereas most of the other people ahead of me in the service center, they straight up said, I heard them say in line, we're in no hurry. A lot of these people just took delivery of their cars and are getting little quality control things fixed. And I'm like, give them a nice loaner and take your time on the project. That's not a time sensitive repair. Whereas someone who's like late for an appointment, late for work, late for people and family waiting on them, that should be top priority. And I personally think, even though I've heard it's uncommon for repair shops and stuff, I think that should be a 7-day a week service. I don't think that should be business day type thing.
If I may, I want to be the defense lawyer to Drew right now. You're going too hard on yourself about this fault thing. For the record, I think in your actual like dedicated video talking about it, just the opening, the first few seconds is literally proof enough. Like that's how much time anybody would have to respond. And the attentiveness is not what's the discussion here. They're trying to make that discussion because they're deflecting. The discussion,
very much a deflection.
the discussion is that there was a drift and it was casual. And then, oh, would you look at that? Other people then come forward and talk about the drift as well. So,
and that was on the unreleased. That was on 12.4. That was on the newer, later version.
People are very quick to assign blame who weren't there, but they're not quick to question the software that operates the vehicle out of this blind loyalty thing. And I'm like, this is absolutely silly and stupid.
The community definitely made me less passionate about Tesla. The way they've kind of structured this in a way. It's basically designed in a way that if FSD does something good, that's because it's well designed and it's a good software. So let's post videos about that. And there was stuff going on with Gali from Hyperchange as well, where he straight up said on camera that the FSD team that was communicating with the content creators that get early access full self-driving code, it was straight up telling them like, hey, we have to be careful with what we share. And I remember even Gali saying he felt a little weird about that, like because the content creators were posting videos of where it would fail, because obviously that's interesting content of like, it works well here, but it doesn't work well here. Mm-hmm. And then Tesla short sellers like Dan O'Dowd and everybody who's been super negative on Tesla would use that footage. Tesla was trying to control the narrative a bit and say, hey, be careful with how it performs in poor situations. Like, don't post it performing poorly, which I'm like, I get what you're trying to do, but that's still wrong.
Not honest. That's not
I don't
honest.
think that's honest. And I think that a lot of based on how the community responded, and especially the following day where they started saying, hey, we've been noticing it kind of drifts off the lane. The verbiage totally changed. And you know,
like what can we talk about then? Somebody had to get hurt in your car for you to then make a comment about it. That's a disingenuous statement for them to even try to take that stance from the offset. At what point then is it appropriate to talk about it? Somebody needs to get hurt, or worse? Does there need to be local news involved at that point? Where when are we allowed to then talk about our genuine personal experience of the product? We're not saying it's not in beta, that it's still fragile. We're not saying any of that. We know. Especially if somebody does content on it, we know. But
I'm saying supervised, it can make a horrible mistake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
I'm saying a car is not safe, period, at any real thing. We all take a chance every single day we get in our car.
I agree with that, but there is a notion with FSD supervised that you can relax a little bit more. And the more you relax more, and with a lot of these issues that we see, like it drifting or it heavily relying on cameras, especially in the case that Drew is in, where there were trees that were pretty much making a strobe effect happen for a lot of those cameras and your eyes. And along with that, shading areas that are potentially hazardous portions of the road was not a good setup for either the human or the software. So in this case, it's just unsafe regardless for those occasions where that happens. But it's unavoidable. It's not like Drew says, all right, we wait until later to turn this on. And of course, the quote unquote smarter way, that maybe not smart, but the way that he could have gone about it in different reality is just not activated FSD supervised at the time. But that's not something that we expect to see these hazards on the road, whether with our eyes or the system sees it and we don't. But unfortunately, in this situation, neither caught it And so it's a bummer for both, well, mainly just for you and your family, Drew, but especially with the car as well. But this is definitely a highlight, in my opinion, for FSD supervised, showing where its missteps are and what needs to be improved, whether cameras need to be positioned in different locations or additional hardware might need to be included in order to manage or mitigate these issues. Or even, I think the other one is make smarter software to at least recognize these potentials of things happening like this, and
was it not
data and improving upon it.
Was it not Elon who said that we learn more from our failures than we do from the successes?
But Elon's not paying for Drew's rims.
No, but what I'm getting at is that there's more valuable takeaway in a learning lesson from this experience that you had to go through, Drew, over if it was working just fine. Like, you going back to the flawed statement where it's not an honest thing to say that, like, no, you should highlight the bad because you learn more from the bad. You correct the bad. If everything is just honky dory out loud, then it's like,
just share the good. Yeah. And I think it does
misleading.
If you make the argument, which most Tesla bulls do, that FSD is supposed to make driving more relaxing because the car is making all the decisions and you're not, then you also have to acknowledge that FSD has to create somewhat of a false sense of security. Like it makes you feel like the car is watching the road, you'll be safe because you're not making as many of those little decisions. But what my dad said, it wasn't on camera, I wish it would have been, but what my dad said immediately after the accident was, this is not full self-driving. They need to stop calling it that, because if it can make a mistake that poorly, that can result in that bad of a accident that you're $1,200 out of pocket basically to replace the tires and the rims, and you have to be that attentive and ready to take over within 1 second of it. Just, again, jerky motions are easy to intervene. It's the slow, gradual motions that are very difficult to notice. If you have to be that attentive, what's the frickin' point of using it? If you have to be ready to take over that fast, it's actually less mental energy. And I can express this now after driving myself again on this last road trip. It's less mental energy to just drive yourself at a certain point.
You're full self-drewing.
I'm fully driving myself, and you're not constantly wondering, is it gonna react poorly because of the lighting? Is it gonna drift off the lines? No, you just know I'm in control. I'm steering it. That's easier. So I'm back to just acknowledging I'm gonna drive myself, and that's fine. And the community's response, honestly, was the more disappointing part, in my opinion, because there was a lot of name calling or a lot of people just demeaning me or saying I don't know how to drive or I can't drive. And after never getting a single FSD strike and driving for 10 plus years, never causing an accident, never getting into an accident, being very attentive, to have that many people just say skill issue, it's like,
did you get those types of comments on your YouTube video though?
Not as much, but yeah, you're right. The Twitter response was very different from the YouTube response, which is probably not a coincidence.
That hive mind of a place, man. I tell you, I think unfortunately the bad got amplified on Twitter because of these freaking tryhards, and it's like, dude, Elon's not gonna like your tweet. Calm down. But if you can get a more fair assessment, I felt like YouTube would have been. YouTube is the real town square.
That's right. And I just felt like, in their defense, I will acknowledge that my YouTube video allowed me to elaborate a lot more on how I felt, and the tweet was very much made in a moment of anger and frustration and passion, which is why most people probably.
But it was genuine.
It was genuine. I don't think I was lying, but I do think that it was definitely on the negative. Like, my family, that portion of my families who I was referring to, everybody in the car essentially, was not EV owners. and not really in the market for an EV, but curious about how it performed. And because that was their first time ever experiencing FSD, was on that trip. And them knowing that this is the kind of feature, this is how the feature performs. And also they were very confused that there wasn't a spare tire. They were like, oh, just the front tires popped. Let's put the spare on. And I had to explain, no, Teslas don't have spares. They were like, what, really? I'm like, this is already a way more expensive car than they would ever consider buying. Now we tried the self-driving feature, and I honestly didn't use it that much in that area. I did use it on that same stretch of road though, and it had worked in the past.
Okay.
But I knew it was capable of working correctly on that stretch of road, which is why I was lulled into thinking it was okay to use. But I didn't anticipate the lighting to make it drift off the road like that. But them seeing it perform so badly is why I expressed in the tweet, like, I don't think anybody who's in the car is interested in buying a Tesla at this point. They know that they can get one flat and then it needs a tow, and they know that the self-driving stuff is not really worth the money. And that's, you have to be attentive the entire time. So they definitely weren't impressed by it. And everyone took that as, oh, Drew saying he would never buy a Tesla again. And with the tweet only so many characters, you couldn't specify, like, no, the family in the car is probably never going to buy a Tesla at this point. I don't mean I would never consider buying one again. And my cousin just took delivery of one.
You shouldn't, Drew. There's so many cooler cars out there now, and soon to be, Mr. Taylor. So,
well, the service center experience of selling me winter tires in July definitely put a bad taste in my mouth. And
did you get that fixed, by the way?
That's so silly.
You're still running on winter tires?
Well, there's not a good
or half winter
solution.
Tires?
There's not a good fix to this situation.
You can't just go there and say, hey, they put winter
Call your
tires
mom
on
an
my
iPhone.
vehicle.
That's what I did. I contacted the local Tesla service center and I said, hey, I was sold winter tires in July, and they didn't tell me they were winter tires, and I was on a road trip, so I had to leave. I didn't have time to argue with them. Is there some kind of return policy, return window? I have my receipt. It was 2 days after they installed them, and they said, no, there's nothing we can do. We won't fix them. If you've driven any miles on the winter tires at all, then you can't return them. So my options were buy new all-season tires or just live with the winter tires. Which
the concern that I have with that is that winter tires are not suited for summer driving, especially in your climate.
I agree. I know they aren't.
So
but the only solutions are going to increase the price
Mike is cooking
of the
right
experience more.
Facts, my guy.
I think my only concerns with that situation that you had, Drew, which was an awful situation. I feel terrible for you and your family. I'm glad that no one was hurt. But my only concern being one that uses FSD, not on a daily, but on a weekly basis, Mr. Denier of my usage of FSD. I will say I'm confident in my usage of FSD, or at least my leisure of it in my commute, because I know the routes, or at least I see the routes that's going to take. And I'm confident. I know what the road looks like there. I know the turns. The only variable there is the system operating how it does, where it's confidently uncertain, and along with that, other drivers on the road and or construction. So I mainly look out for those three things. Otherwise, the routes are pretty well mapped in my head, and they're well taken care of from what I can tell. There's not too many bumps or just it's familiar road for me. And so that was my main concern with your situation was, and I didn't know this. I mean, this is the most I've heard besides your video that you did on it, was how much did you know of that road that you were driving on that you were confident to use FSD? Yeah. And it sounds kind of silly because something like planning road trips and all that, there's most likely a whole bunch of roads that you're going to be taking that you're not familiar with. You don't know what the condition is for that road, and if there's any construction or anything else going on. So just don't use it unless you've been on that road. It sounds very silly, but in the case of what the situation that you're in, It was just so many things stacking up, so many small things that stacked up into a bad outcome of
I agree.
You were on that road in the past, but just not too much to where you knew where that pothole was. And along with that, it was the
Could barely
evening,
see
the
it, to
sun
be
was at a
honest,
weird
but
angle.
yeah.
The software didn't
I
see
had
it
driven
either.
on that exact stretch of road probably 5 or 6 times on this trip. So it wasn't like the pothole just suddenly appeared and I'd never tried it on this stretch of road before. It was nearby friends and family that we were visiting. So again, that's the kind of danger I want to echo to people, is just because it can handle one situation doesn't mean it will always perform properly in that exact stretch of road. And my hope is that through my misfortune and bad luck stacking up on top of each other, other people will increase their attentiveness and remember to not trust it, because Tesla's not kidding when they say it'll do the wrong thing at the wrong time.
I just think about the situation that you're in or the lighting conditions as well. If you can't see the road that well, don't use software that is, well, what used to be in quote unquote beta now is in parentheses supervised. But that's a good point then. You need to supervise its driving. If you can't see the road as well, then the system most likely can't see it either. But again,
what's
that's
the
you
point then?
Yes. So then
what's literally the point then? So before even this happened to you, Drew, I was ready less and less on my FSD. Mainly I have to replace my dash cam inside. It won't even activate now. 1, 2, I am just way too paranoid now that I have my kid in the car. I can't bring myself to do it. I don't trust.
I'm paranoid for a different reason, but I'm also paranoid now. Anytime, even on the highway when I use it, I'm a lot more skeptical of if there's a turn in the road, or if the painted of the lines gets a little bit darker. I just like, no, not worth it. I turn it off way more than I used to because of this whole experience, which maybe is inadvertently saving my life. Who knows?
Hey, it's saving mine. I'll tell you that much. Your lesson taught me what type of driver I am. And when it comes to assistance, I'm an adaptive cruise control kind of guy. I like having eyes on the road. As long as I don't get tired staring off the road, I get tired with the ankle doing this all the time. That's what is fatiguing for me. So adaptive cruise control.
That's what sucks about FSD supervised, is it gets rid of cruise control too.
It does. That was two updates ago, 1 update ago. It's very recent that happened.
You have to go into settings and select auto steer.
Then you lose.
If you have FSD on, then there's no way to activate cruise control. Even if you disengage FSD, it's still just pedal and steering driving until you go into settings and make sure FSD is all the way off.
Because you don't have a 1 tap down anymore, or you don't have a 1 tap for it to do that. It's 1 for boom, boom, and it just does instead of doing it twice, which I don't like because it's more steps. But at this point, I just disabled the thing, and
that's what I did.
I'm an adaptive cruise control guy. Yeah, I like that more. I'm fine doing this. I'm fine looking at the road. I'm always eyes on the road anyway. Even when I'm the passenger, I'm just staring at the road all the time. But it's the ankle that is fatiguing, not the me looking off to the distance. So I don't see myself utilizing FSD really anymore. As cool as the software is, I can't risk it when I have my son in the car. That's a non-starter for me at that point. So if it's just me, it's a different story. But then it's like I'm not incentivized to even schedule the service appointment with Tesla.
But Randy, Teslas are the safest vehicles on the road. Look at all the cars that have crashed and everyone walks out perfectly fine. Even one fell off of a cliff.
Munch me. I'm not doing that.
Ew. I mean, he says that in a funny voice, but there is some truth. There is a lot of great safety features. That's not wrong. I'm just saying all of the miles with FSD that they brag about without incident, that's all under human supervision. So we don't know how well FSD does unsupervised. They don't give us that data. And I think there's a reason why they don't give us that data. It's because there's probably not much of it, and it's probably not very good. If there was no human involved, how often would it make a critical mistake? We still don't know, and we won't know until they actually start shipping these robo taxis, which were sadly delayed. I was disappointed to see that news, but I can't say I'm surprised.
I'm surprised how reactionary the stock was about that. I was like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. And then
has it hit the special price yet?
It almost did. It almost did, but then somebody had to go try to get his ear shot off.
Oh
my gosh.
Lots of plans were changed that day.
I am close though. I have a specific number, and we are close to that number. Not as close today because it closed at a negative today. It's lower today than it was yesterday, but
it did.
It did. I have a feeling it will be it will happen this year. Yeah, it closed at a negative, didn't it?
Technically, it's up 0.32%, but who's counting?
Oh, I am, because I have a lot of.
That's basically nothing. Yeah. That's like normal movement. But I will, just to close out my whole frustration with Tesla experience, it made me really mad at the company, the community, the brand, and at the end of the day, after driving home with it, even with the overheating issues, and we went on a camping trip with it recently over the weekend, and we car camped. So I've now slept in the car many times with camp mode, and we charged it at the campground, which was fun. I can still say, while I don't have a rose-colored view of a perfect view of Elon or Tesla, and there's a lot of things.
Cherry view.
A midnight cherry view. Thank you. I would still buy one again. There's a lot of things Tesla does amazingly well, and I'm ticked off by how poorly they handle other things, but I just consider it, I'm learning my lessons. So I'm not going to be fussing around with FSD anymore. Anytime I get tire repair done, I'm going to have to be extra critical of looking at the tires before I leave. But in this situation, we really had no choice. It's just bad luck on top of bad luck. Even if I would have noticed right away that they were winter tires, I wouldn't have been able to. We had to leave. There wasn't an option to stay longer. So it's a sucky situation, but I keep telling myself, you probably would have been in a similar predicament. Had I popped a Rivian tire or damaged a Rivian wheel, I could have either used the spare or gone to a Rivian center, which
if you had a Rivian.
That's possible. But the Rivian center, again, you could damage a rim in a Rivian too. It's possible, but a Rivian center would not have been closer, and Rivian centers are still run by people, just like Tesla centers, and people make mistakes, and
we call them happy accidents.
We call them happy accidents.
That's what they called my little brother.
I just want to remind you, similar to how we're all looking very positively at Rivian, that it's kind of like how people live in a place long enough, you discover all the problems with it, right? Mm-hmm. When you live in one place for a long time, you go, oh, I hate the traffic here, and I hate the weather here, and I hate this. I can't wait to move to somewhere else where it's so much better. Then you move to that other place, and you'll slowly over time find all the things you didn't know about it that you didn't like. I feel very similar that if we switch to a Rivian, you would slowly start to figure out all the things you don't like that you don't know about yet. Even the story I want to share.
I know the CEO, and that's good enough for me.
There was a guy who bought, $80,000, probably $90,000 actually, $90,000 Rivian R1S. And he was super pumped. He was super positive and excited about it. And within not even 48 hours, basically, had to take it back to the service center because of all kinds of error messages. 12-volt battery, brake unavailable, system fault, locked at 19 miles an hour, vehicle battery issue, tire pressure monitoring system, and more. So he's had less than 24 hours of ownership, and it had to go straight back to the service center. So they had to hard reset it, and that fixed it. But then the error message happened again this morning. Took him 30 minutes to be able to get the car to move and drive. So they give him a loaner car, which is cool. But I'm just trying to remind everyone that, while Tesla has their faults, everybody does. And you could run into similar issues with the Rivian as well.
Well, that's the point, is they're both startup companies, or at least one is a more successful startup company that's had a head start compared to the other. But even so, these are both companies that are known for outputting some amazing software, but that doesn't mean that it's very solid software, or at least unfettered or uncompromising. It can be compromising in many different aspects. So, but having that in mind, just buyer beware, pretty much.
Buyer beware. Here's my thing. Two things. One, correction. I was looking at my portfolio right now just to see. Every single one of my holdings is a negative except Tesla. It's 0.29%. You're right. It closed.
I'm sorry.
I'm just talking about today's movement, not my position. Not my position. I'm talking about just the
also
market.
Bought Canoe stock?
No, please. I have brain cells, Mike.
Hey, I'm still holding. Hold the line.
You fool.
I got both my shares.
Hold the boat.
You fool. No, so yeah, good job, Tesla. There literally is the only thing that was green in today's movements. But anyway, going back to what you were saying though, Drew. What I mean, we wouldn't be in this mess if it was a Rivian, because Rivian doesn't have an FSD. They don't tout to have. They don't tout to have this, relaxed, supervised beta, blink. It's just the same.
Well, think about my previous accident then, where the road debris popped and busted the road.
Okay, that's unavoidable, but that's not the part that put a bad taste in my mouth or yours. It was what happened.
I'm saying for that situation where it was not my fault at all, and it was purely just the cars colliding in front of me. A Rivian center would have been much, much harder to get to than a Tesla center.
Does Rivian have partnered locations?
Not when they make custom rims like Tesla does, which after this experience, getting more and more frustrated with. I'm like, wait a minute. So I can buy a tire from anywhere, but when you make custom rims, you can't just get those at any tire shop, wheel shop. You have to get them from Rivian. And they do that for aesthetic reasons or efficiency reasons, but my car probably would have been out of service for longer had it been a Rivian in that particular instance.
The first one. Well,
the first
had that happened, the second situation probably would not have happened, but then you wouldn't have traveled and your whole trip plan. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah, that's crazy. I think it's not that I wouldn't do a Tesla again. It's if I had to start over now, I'm a completely different person. My lifestyle is completely different. I don't have the need of a long range Model 3. I would prefer to get a Tesla. I mean, sorry. That thing on the
what did he
right
just say?
Sorry, I had a Biden moment. Anyway, if we could sum up America into one word, it'd be
we don't even know what's been announced by the time this podcast.
The flag in the back. I would prefer to get a Rivian, an R1T, that color, that exact everything right there for our YouTube viewers. I would prefer it, but I can't even guarantee I would get an EV immediately. I might just have to wait until there's more used EVs on the market, because I wouldn't buy new. That's the thing. I would buy used regardless. I'm not incentivized to buy new anymore. Especially like when I think about it, the tax credit for Colorado has one of the highest tax credits. If you do buy new, I have a hesitation the same way I do about when people there's artificial hype on a product. We were talking about this with the AI pen and stuff like that. When there's such a big push for you to try to get this thing quicker than maybe you should, and I made that mistake with the tax credit back in 2019. I would be okay just waiting until there's more used vehicles out there. And I guess where I'm getting at is I don't think I'm all that interested in being an early adopter anymore. From the privilege of me already being an early adopter, it's so hard and brave for me to say I know, but I don't know. I don't know if I need the same stuff as what I needed before. I need a working vehicle that can comfortably put a car seat in there. One car seat, Mike. He teased me. He teased me last time. I don't even know if we were on air, but he teased me. No, we weren't. I was like, hey man, check out this cool thing. And he was like, oh my God, you're pregnant again. I'm like, no. What? He goes, but you said car seats, plural. I'm like future upgrades, Mike. So he teased me about it. But just the one car seat, and I just ideally something with a bed. And I'm okay with I'm okay with just getting a Maverick. To be honest with you, EV or not.
It's a great
Maverick's
truck.
a little big.
Okay, whatever, good sir.
Wait, what did you say?
I said the Maverick's a little big for me.
Get out of my face. Get out of my face. I could buy a Maverick right now.
There we go.
Today.
Yeah. You know what you can't buy right now, Mike, is an R2.
No, but thankfully I don't need a new car right now.
Well, that's kind of the interesting debate you were having in the last episode. Yes, I do listen to the ones I'm not in, unlike some of you. But you were like,
yeah, Mike.
You know, if something were to happen to the Model Y, I don't think I'd replace it with a Model Y. I'd replace it with an R2. But I'm like, the R2's not out. That wasn't the question.
Well, yeah. Well, I said in that very same podcast that you claim to have listened to, I said if the Y got totaled today, between now and the next 2 years,
Drew,
it'd probably turn into an R1S because
Drew,
my wife really loves the
that.
R1S.
You did say that.
But 2 years after that, if the Y gets totaled, an R2 would most likely replace it.
Mike, refresh my memory from last week. R2 is the same footprint, or is it the R1 that's the same footprint with the Model Y?
R2 is the same footprint as the Model Y. The only difference is that it's a little bit more squared off on the back, so you get a little bit more storage.
Oh, don't make me want it more. I know.
Which is why it should have a third row option.
After that conversation that we had, I think 2 podcasts ago, I agree. I just don't think it's the imperative, or at least the first thing on the docket that the R2 needs coming off the line. First of all, it's being built in normal. So
I feel that way about the tri-motor.
Yeah, that thing's a little bit ridiculous for the.
Let's have 3 rows before we have 3 motors, people. Come on, like that's a big enough vehicle. You could fit a third row in there. Don't tell me.
I'm ready, Vasquez. I approve this message.
But the thing is, the R1T and the R1S are being built now. The R2 is not.
Yeah,
and the R1T and the R1S has had years of. Go ahead.
I'm not talking about the R1. I'm saying they've publicly stated they will make a tri-motor R2 first.
Oh,
I remember.
And I'm saying that's a waste of time. The R2 is supposed to be the cheaper vehicle. I don't think you should start out with a tri-motor for the cheapest vehicle, but they're probably trying to chase margins. So I get why they're doing it, but still, I'm like, if you're going to chase margins, then just make it a 3-row at that point, you know, like that's a very common segment. A lot of people want 3-row SUVs. I think the R2 orders would be a lot higher, and RJ would probably feel more comfortable sharing the R2 reservation number if it was a 3rd row, because more people would order it. But maybe they're trying to protect R1S sales. I wouldn't be shocked at all if maybe they have a plan to make it a 3rd row. They just don't want to talk about it so that people keep buying the R1S. That's my theory.
Would either of you be comfortable, okay, or however you choose to interpret this question? Would either of you get a gas vehicle for the interim if something was to happen to either of your Teslas now, leading up to a future EV a couple years from now from either R2, Aptera, Tello, you name it, whatever the case is, as a placeholder between now and then, would you go out and get like just a cheap beater getting you from A to B and let that hold you down for 12 to 24 months ish?
I think it depends on the situation I'm in, on whether my needs require a vehicle immediately or if it's something that we can stave off for a little bit, whether we shop around for something that's in our area, or if we can wait for a custom and or existing inventory vehicle of our interest that's an EV. Or if it's not possible, then it pretty much becomes, okay. If it's not going to come in the next couple months and we really need another vehicle for this specific scenario, let's get a cheap beater car for the time being. I look at Doug DeMuro's Cars and Bids site, I think once a week, just seeing what they got on there. It's always interesting stuff where things like R1Ts come rotating on for like $42,000, which
don't tell me that, Mike.
It's very appealing. Well, it's an auction site, so I'm seeing the vehicle at a certain slice of time in its auction. So it could jump up, but from what I can tell from the history, I think average around 60,000 on Cars and Bids at end of sale or end of auction. So stuff like that, I mean, is a little bit expensive for a used vehicle, but stuff like old Mustangs or Miatas and all that, it'd be fun to have an old Miata that's kind of been beat up and is selling for $2,000 to $5,000 on the site. It's like, we could deal with that.
That's the price range I had in my head, like somewhere between $2,000 to $5,000. At the highest, maybe $7,000. Would you drop somewhere between $2,000 and $7,000 to hold down the fort for at most a couple years, 24 months ish, and wait for that dream, or not even dream, just see what the market would even look like? And I'm not even saying stepping away from Tesla. Maybe cheaper, used, newer models come out of your same variant or even newer, and now it's maybe more affordable. What do you think, Drew? What would you do in that situation? Would you do that situation?
Yeah, I agree with Mike that it would depend heavily on the context of the financials and stuff. Like, for instance, if someone else hit me and they were at fault, I would get a payout. In that case, I would probably replace my car with another Tesla because the wait time's not that long. I would actually be really grateful if that happened now, because then I could get the real drive long range Model 3, which is the one I always wanted. 360 miles. That thing is awesome. That's kind of like dream car territory. There were talks in the household this week. Okay, that's all I'll say.
Okay. This car is crappy. We need to replace it now.
Who likes white anyway? It costs $1,000 more.
You get burning on the phone. You get in a couple scuffs with the car, and immediately, let's get rid of these things.
No,
dang it, Mike!
I wouldn't have gotten rid of our current car. Just to be clear.
Okay. So get us. Wow. So replace the Sonata with a new Model 3. So you've got two white Model 3. Okay.
We're both doing a lot more driving than we used to. So the discussion is the variables have changed. You know, when we were both working from home, it was like, what's the point? But we just bought the Model 3 for road trips. But now that we're using it for commuting and she's using it for work and we're doing the road trips on top of that, it's kind of like, okay, the 250 kilowatts is not something that comes up for fast charging twice a year. Now it's coming up twice a month. So, obviously we needed a new car when we needed a new car. So we bought the cheapest possible Tesla we could back in 2022. But like Randy's situation has changed, my situation's also changed. So it would probably be a tough call between Model Y versus 3 because Model Y's kind of dated now. I think we'd both be more on board with the refresh whenever that happens. But
you take that back. It's not dated. It's beautiful.
Hey, my cousin has a newer one than you do. So I'm just saying. And
it looks exactly the same. So you take that back.
No, he's got the black rims that are efficient. He seriously got like the dream.
Well,
literally
I got
the
a
dream
red
Model Y.
brake, not pedal, but red brakes. So
just a cover, but yeah.
Whatever.
Here, let me find it.
And I got the red bar underneath dual motor. How will people know I'm pretentious without the red line?
What are you looking at, Mike?
Trying to get the rims that you showed off.
Just pulling up my Instagram. No, look, way back in January of 2020, we reserved the long-range rear-wheel drive Model Y back when it was advertised with the efficient black rims. These were when they had the same aero rims as the Model 3. They never actually shipped it like that. But we placed the order right then and there. And obviously we ended up canceling it because we wanted to pay off the house first. But and many other reasons.
Ramsey.
But you're stupid. Beans and rice. But he literally got a white Model Y with the black efficient rims. And I was like, and they love it. They love it. Although the only negative thing he had to say about it was FSD wasn't very good. They were using it somewhere. They took a road trip with it, obviously, because they just got it. And they threw in 2 free months of supercharging. He got 1 month of FSD for free. He obviously didn't pay for it. And even though the rear-wheel drive Model Y doesn't come with a parcel shelf, they asked for one, and the manager threw one in. So there's some... You know what that story reminded me, and also I think the reason I've kind of cooled off on Tesla since the negative tweets and videos is that I'm witnessing them in my cousin and his wife in their early Tesla days, and I remember that feeling. They were so happy. They were so excited.
Keep me ignorant. I remember.
They just bought. He was also in an accident, actually, the same week I was. That's the whole reason they bought the car, was because their minivan got totaled.
What is happening?
The roads
it's
are
a family
crazy
curse.
Out here in California, Randy.
Three generations back, somebody in your family
one of them was in Washington.
It doesn't matter. 3 generations ago, somebody in your family line touched a haunted box or something that had, Catholic water put onto it, and now it's. And now you guys are cursed with driving or something. I don't know. I don't know.
It was in Washington half the time, but yeah, I'm overly cautious now.
So don't move to Washington. Tracking. Got it.
Or California.
Yeah, I just think in your situation, I already have a beater gas car, although the AC went out in the Sonata on the hottest day of the year. So that was nice.
Gross.
So I would probably...
AC 260? AC, nope. 2 windows didn't down, work. 60 miles per hour.
Oh, no.
Man, I thought you were trying to say AC/DC and you were having a stroke or something.
I thought I was having a stroke trying to understand that joke. Hey, did you hear that? I'm a poet and I didn't know it.
Hey.
Get out.
You get out. You made the 60
lonely-hearted.
What was that?
Came to poop and
sometimes you drive places under 60 miles an hour, believe it or not, but at least we have the same set of tires.
Not in California.
Come on, Drew. You live in California. You know this fact. Everyone drives 60 miles per hour minimum everywhere.
So I would tell you guys, in my situation, to any listeners still hanging with us, in the same scenario I painted, the responsible thing to do is to get yourself a beater car for a little bit if you're trying to save up some cash. Just something get you from A to B.
Or you go on Cars and Bids and get a 2021 Tesla Model 3 Performance for the highest bid right now being $18,750.
No. A beater car is sub 10 grand. It's only 4 digits out of your bank account. That's a beater car.
Let me tell you, I'd get a Bolt for around that.
4 digits?
If it's an interim. I've seen some get pretty close. It might fudge a little bit. It might be like 11,000 instead of.
There's a grace period in there. Just like don't do 15 or 17, whatever the Nissan. What's that cheap car from Nissan? That thing is like starting at 18,000. As long as you're not near that, then okay, fine. I get it. Inflation. Okay, fine. Costs go up, but get a beater car. I would get a beater car in the scenario that I don't already have the beater car here. If I'm talking about me specifically, I would just, if something happened to my car, I'd just use the Model Y. I mean, but we do have the Yaris still. For how much longer? Who's to say? But we still got it. What are we looking at? What is this? 2023 Tesla Model Y Performance. Show me the Carfax.
It says clean on title.
What is the place a bid? What's the current 36,000? No.
This is what I was looking for.
Oh.
Earlier, where you're like, what are you looking at?
Oh, I was like,
I love those rims, by the way. They're beautiful.
Yes.
And they're efficient.
They're disgusting.
And then gosh.
They're
just to pair off with your earlier image, Drew.
Yes.
This is my lineage with the Model Y of, oh yeah, the Aero rims. Ew, the Gemini rims. Oh yeah, the Sport rims. With dates and all. But yeah.
Yeah, I think if the refresh to the Y is similar to the 3, the prices might not change very much. And the range should only get better because the Aero should improve with the facelift. Not by a lot, but knowing that's potentially around the corner, and who knows, they might throw in a front bumper camera, something like that. That'd be a pretty tough deal to beat. Opposed to, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the R2 market is like, or who knows. If you guys go the Rivian direction, I might have to go the Lucid direction or something like that, because I don't
Lucid.
Feel like I'm the efficiency guy. You can be your off-road adventure.
What the hell is even that? You can't. Lucid is not.
You haven't driven one, Randy.
I haven't, but I've seen pricing. There's nothing efficient about that.
Well, they're just like, we're talking down the road here. The R2 is all hypothetical at this point. Lucid's working on a mid-size vehicle that's supposed to be in the $48,000 range. So if there was a super efficiency-focused mid-size, this is basically the conversation, because my wife did make it very clear we're not interested in spending more than $50,000 on a car ever again. It's just too much sales tax, and then you usually get the custom tires and all that crap. It's just too much money for a car. It pushes up the registration a lot based on what it's worth. So I don't really look at, unless financial situations change heavily, I don't see a situation where we buy a brand new Model X or a R1S or something high priced. But for us, it's going to be, I think, like a lot of middle class Americans, a debate between refreshed Model Y, the Juniper refresh, Rivian R2, and maybe the Lucid midsize. If you're interested in the up and coming startup brands, obviously you're still going to have
only if they fix CarPlay. I hate what they did to CarPlay. They should be taken out back and shot if they were a real company.
They did something with CarPlay though.
I would rather have nothing than that monstrosity. That Frankenstein looking thing.
I don't know. Tesla Nav has been very disappointing to me lately. It's taken me on the weirdest routes. So true. I miss Apple Maps. I would rather use that.
The only thing I like about the Tesla navigating system is that it tells me exactly what road I'm on or what city I'm in, instead of at least the last time I used Apple Maps, it didn't give me that little indication on any part of the display. Tesla will say, "Oh yeah, you're driving on South, whatever. You're on this thing, and you're in this city, and it updates in lifetime." I'm like, I like that. That's cool. That's it. I don't like anything else about it.
I like the idea of the car doing everything. That's why I try to use Tesla Nav as much as I can, because I don't like, let me connect my phone and let me select this. I don't want to get an accessory to mount my phone up there. I like the cleanliness.
No, it's fine, Drew. It's okay. You're okay. You before Tesla, you were doing just fine with your Apple Maps on your phone. You will be fine again.
No, it wasn't. I hated that car.
You hated the car, but you like the Apple Maps on your phone.
That's true. But
you'll be okay.
Prefer the biggest possible screen to be giving me the directions. So
you want the biggest possible screen and the smallest form factor of a vehicle. Just get an iPad.
We're getting ahead of ourselves here.
Are we? We're in. We gotta wrap it up soon.
Is there other? There was one breaking news story that I thought was like, it's worth talking about while we're recording right now. Tesla has started changing some of their prices on
what's new.
So the Model S and X prices went
breaking?
up in the US by $2,000. So that's usually a good sign. But oh crap, where's the tweet? I just had it here. Did he delete it? Where'd it go?
There's a Model Y missing. Or wait, no.
Oh, he
there?
said
No, there isn't.
Oh, okay. Here's the news. It's from Ryan McCaffrey, Mike's favorite.
He's pretty cool. I like Ryan.
Yeah. Mike's like, I won't deny that. Some Tesla news for my Tesla fam out there. You can get any Model 3 performance configuration and still stay under the MSRP limit for the tax credit if you order FSD. So if you order full self-driving, all of the paint and interior choices like white interior, ultra red become free. Same thing with the Model X seating. So if you order it with FSD, which doesn't disqualify you from the federal tax credit because it's a software thing, then they will throw in the 6 or 7 seater at no additional charge, which is kind of a...
It's more expensive to get FSD though.
Not technically, because you qualify for the tax credit this way. Whereas if you just spent what?
You're not going to see the money at your tax credit. It's just it goes towards filing and bringing your
No, it's point of sale now. That's something you got wrong. See, I am listening on the last episode. They've switched it to be point of sale. So now it's $7,500 off from what you pay when you take delivery.
It's still more expensive to get FSD. Just upgrade your specs accordingly.
Because if you upgraded your specs accordingly, it would disqualify it from the federal tax credit. Whereas if you get FSD, you still get the $7,500 off. So this is technically cheaper than it was before. But we're basically saying they found a way to get the Biden administration to pay for everyone's FSD. That's what they're saying.
Oh, man.
You know what's funny to me? Okay, because we're near the end and I don't want to get too political here. So Elon's endorsing certain candidates that shall not be named bigly, but
huge.
Certain vice presidents and presidents that he's endorsing are totally in favor of removing the EV tax credits. And yet the Tesla sales team is trying so hard to get as many Teslas as they can to qualify. Like, oh, FSD, we'll add that after the delivery, and then that makes the 6 and 7 seater free. And then the color options you can still add up so that it qualifies for the federal. They're trying so hard to do these gymnastics to get FSD. I mean, to get the federal tax credit to qualify. Meanwhile, the Techno King is like, yeah, get rid of all of those. Screw it. It's just a little...
That guy's cool.
It just feels a little funny to me that you have someone endorsing all this, like, yeah, get rid of the EV tax credits, and then the Tesla company, like, how do we get as many tax breaks as possible?
This is who the shareholders voted for, Drew. This is who they were bustling so much for him to get his pay package.
Once he gets Starbase down to Austin as well, then
Starbase down to Austin.
I meant SpaceX, whatever.
HQ, in which they're not moving. This is way out of the EV town.
Is it though? Isn't EV just a subsidiary of Elon? Everything's
no. I'm drawing a hard line right there. No.
This is what I don't like about it. Is it's turning something that was supposed to be about cars and vehicles and efficiency into, okay, who did he endorse this time? You know, I don't want to go there. I hate talking about politics because politics are all about impossible questions that both sides of the political spectrum are angry about because there's no right answer. There's no flawless answer. So everybody's just mad all the time and it never gets anywhere, which is why I wanted to talk about technology. And yet Elon's trying his hardest to get us to all talk about politics, which just involve complaining about someone else all day and that they don't think the way I think. And I don't want to do that.
See, I'm from a generation where we don't talk about religion or politics because you're not going to change somebody's mind based off of just that thing. No one person in my circle changes my mind. It's the world in its entirety and also my views on the world. as they change, so do my selection of the politics is gross, man. It's just dirty. Like of all people, Dana White said it best. I was watching a Lex Fridman podcast, and because he's best buddies, or at least really good buddies with Trump, and he was like, and so just casually, like, you ever thought about politics? He's like, politics is disgusting. It's the most corrupt, and it's the most gross profession to be in. I don't envy anybody being in it, and I'm like, that's it. So, but I mean, as long as Elon says something, unfortunately, Elon is so powerful that he manipulates the market off of his just sporadic tweeting. And I don't like that. I don't like that. He's what makes Tesla stock volatile, and why I'm like, I'm not comfortable with this anymore. It's just, okay, so you're neurotic. Cool. All the great minds are, right? That's what they say. You're kind of a jerk. Fine. I mean, all right, then at least that's out there, and people choose if they want to work for those organizations. But to have the ability to just not manipulate, because that's illegal, but he influences the market, at least in his sectors, which are the most prominent in the Fortune 500. It's a bit uncomfortable that you say one thing and then actions do another, and then the more he talks, the more he kind of digs himself a hole. Like the whole, like, we'll put a man on Mars in 10 years, and it's been over 10 since he said that. Like, people just, or it's about 2 weeks away. Oh, I don't see why it wouldn't be ready by the end of the year. I mean, we've memed on that for years now. Like, the more you talk, man, just Jeff Bezos it a little bit. Go behind the scenes a little bit, or just, you don't gotta be the front. But says the guy who bought a social media platform. So, like, that's.
Yeah, I'm over it. Whatever.
Yeah.
He can do what he wants.
Yes, he can.
He's earned it. He's done a lot, so he can get away with all kinds of things, I'm sure. But whatever. Do you guys have any more EV focused topics you want to end on, so that it's not just depressing?
I see even more Cybertrucks around this city than I've probably ever thought I would see, period. And I don't know how I feel about it, because they're just there. And it rained today. I'm like, isn't that gonna rust or something? Like, I got this paranoia about it, like, just in general.
I'll give you even more paranoia with this video.
Oh,
It doesn't rust that easily. Come on.
Aye.
There's rust particles. That's not the same thing as the.
Now there's my little Tesla fanboy. I've been looking for him. There he is. There he is. It's okay, community. You still got him.
I'm just trying to be fair, which I know doesn't perform well for the algorithm. It's better when you're a team player and you just say only good things about one brand and only negative things about other brands. But I just think, like all companies and all people, there is good and bad. There's a lot of bad with Tesla, but there's a lot of good with Tesla. And I say what you will about the Cybertruck, you always look at it when you see it.
That is true.
Like, oh, there's one. If anything, it was a genius, not in utility and functionality, but it was genius in marketing. Which in these days, maybe that was the right call, because they need as many people talking about them as they can to try to get people in the showrooms so that they can move more inventory. But I think the Cybertruck will be a fine product in a few years when they've ironed out the kinks and they get the price down. Obviously, Foundation
for sure
sucks.
Yes.
But I tried to talk the guy in the showroom when I was getting my car worked on. I tried to talk the guy in the showroom out of getting a Cyber Beast. Mm-hmm. I basically cost Tesla $50,000 because he wanted to get a Foundation Series Cyber Beast, and I talked him down to waiting for the dual motor non-foundation with tax credit, which is about $80,000. So they missed out on a lot of revenue because of that talk, I think.
I think it's doing perfectly fine right now, Drew, because it's among the top 5 most registered EVs in the US.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I think that says more about the EV market than it does the Cybertruck. I think that's an indication that the EV market itself is doing quite poorly. What is
Well, the thing is, a lot of people are leasing vehicles these days, especially with EVs, where these companies are trying to get these EVs on the road and have their.
Does that not count?
I don't think lease counts as. I'm not too
I
sure.
thought it counted.
But like 90% of Mercedes and Audi's EVs are leased, which is insane.
Wow. I thought those still counted, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if you register, if it's under your name, yeah, right? Like that, the title belongs to the dealership, but you're the one who's still registered for it. No different than like whoever holds the lien holds the lien. That's a financial thing. It may very well be that, you know, being registered, it's still under you, wherever you take it in the country. I don't know, but I think EVs are kind of like low key, kind of doing a little poorly right now. But we are in a.
That's why they brought back the rear-wheel drive. I don't think they just.
That's why Tesla did. From what I understand, Hyundai Motor Group is having, like, they're setting records in their sales right now. The issue that I think I highlighted before is that Tesla's on the decline in their sales, and they make up a large portion of the market. But the rest of the market, like Hyundai and Kia, are dominating. They're seeing record sales right now with their EVs.
Well, that's two different things. Record sales just means more than they used to sell.
Yes, so that's why I'm saying it's not necessarily declining. So
they didn't sell that much.
The title
Tesla
is correct.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot harder for Tesla to grow when you're selling like 500,000 a year.
It's hard to be on the top. It's lonely up here.
A couple thousand.
What I'm trying to highlight is that titles and article subtitles can be misleading in what they're conveying, especially with EV sales being down, because in the case of many other legacy auto companies, sales are going up for EVs. But when you just look at the whole system, you don't look locally, you look globally, it's going to paint a different picture.
Yeah, I think that it's like the market share number that everyone keeps liking to use. But in my opinion, it's a stupid metric because the market share is constantly growing as a whole. So to look at what individual percentages of the market share are growing and shrinking is kind of silly, because it's not like there's a fixed EV market share. That's when it would make sense to look at the individual brand sales. So I'm guess my point is, I bet you the Cybertruck outsold every electric Hyundai. But you could still say that the Hyundai is breaking records or selling more than ever before. It's like, well, they started a lot later, so it's a bit different. But I'm not trying to poo-poo Hyundai, by the way. I'm just saying Tesla's not.
They are a beautiful
exactly
company.
shrinking.
Don't you dare.
I own one. I like the Ioniq. I like the EV6. I was really excited when it was seen they were testing the native NACS port on their vehicles. That got me pumped. I was like, yes. But also I watched the out of spec road trip to Vegas between the Mercedes, the Model X, the Rivian, and the Kia EV9, and the software on the EV9 was the worst of the four. It was quite terrible. So
maybe they could take a page out of VW's book, get some Rivian help with it.
Which is to take a page out of Rivian's. I agree.
To add on to it, Hyundai Motor Group had at least 35,401 units sold.
Randy, shut up. Sorry, Mike.
Hyundai Motor Group had at least 35,401 units sold in Q2. So much more than the Cybertruck, of being like 8,000 to 9,000. No,
suck it, Drew. I bet you didn't wish to tell me to shut up now. He just put your nose in it.
In the month of May, what was the
I'd have to dig a little bit further into a few articles.
Okay,
I can grab that.
I was referring to the month of May, not Q2, but
okay, sure.
Fair enough. Yes. Like,
God, I've
very different. My point is you could double your sales from 80 to 160 and make a headline that says you know, Tesla sold less vehicles than they used to sell, whereas we doubled our units, and you'd still be like nowhere near close. But context is all I was saying.
He's about to show you. Oh, wait.
I bet it's the Mach-E. It has been in previous years.
So I've got something that can compare to that as well. Ford was behind Hyundai with 23,957 units. GM was behind that with 21,930.
So Hyundai was in second place then?
Yes.
Unless there's someone else I'm thinking of.
Well, yes, because Tesla's the leader in sales. So it goes Tesla,
There's
Hyundai,
no debate on first place
Ford,
unless we're talking BYD. But
yeah,
no, I see a lot of those.
But can't find it right now. Maybe I'll report back later.
Wish they made a truck.
I believe. Oh goodness, don't I?
I've been in the Hyundai Santa Cruz. That was a neat truck.
It's a really
just ran on too much gas.
It's Nissan and Mitsubishi collaborating. Not. I was thinking Kia was collaborating with Nissan, but no, it's Mitsubishi. Oh yeah, because Nissan was going to collaborate with Fisker. Look how well that turned out.
I'm just glad I got to drive one. Anywho, yes, Cybertruck sucks, ladies and gentlemen, and I love it. And Hyundai Kia is doing great.
I hate it.
I hate the white bezels, but they got rid of that in the new model year. So
they did.
That's off to Hyundai. Fix your software. Your automatic route planning is trash. That should be addressed. But the EV9 is great. Great vehicles. Sounds good. Thank you all for watching. Catch you next time. Bye-bye.